Everything we talk about here in Your Leo Nation has something to do with the rule of law. I try to keep it that way. Law enforcement, legislation, abiding by the rule of law. And I think these three topics we're going to talk about today very quickly are right in that wheelhouse. So the first one I want to jump on real quick, Bill, is a story out of the state of Washington. No, not
Mhm.
Washington, D.C. That's a disaster as well, probably just in front of the state of Washington. The state of Washington, in their great wisdom, per the Supreme Court, the state Supreme Court, passing the bar to be a lawyer, no longer required. And this is just earlier this month in March. Passing the bar exam will no longer be a requirement for becoming a lawyer in Washington. The Supreme Court has ruled in a pair of orders. Going down this article here, this is by Carleen Johnson, The Center Square is a publication. You might ask yourself why. Why would state Supreme Court or any body of jurists rule in this way? By the way, people who themselves, all of these individuals on the state Supreme Court, they each had to pass the bar, and I'm glad that they did.
Mhm.
It's like passing your medical boards to become a licensed physician. So you might ask yourself, why would they eliminate the bar exam in order to become a licensed lawyer in the state? So before I even read the article, Bill, I had already come to a conclusion why this might be the case. Do you want to take a jab at this?
They wanna see equal out they wanna dictate equal outcome. They
Well,
without am I wrong about that? They wanna dictate like a DEI type of thing where they want outcomes to be equal regardless of what the input is. Does that make sense?
uh, what you said is 100% accurate. Their goal doesn't make any sense to me, but that's exactly what their
Oh,
goal is.
okay,
I'll read
okay.
just a short excerpt from the same article. During a September presentation before the Washington State Bar Association Board of Governors, Washington Supreme Court Justice Raquel Montoya Lewis, one of the chairs of the Bar Licensure Task Force, said the movement comes in part from law students who have raised issues about equity, not just in the history of the adoption of the bar exam, but also over the course of many decades. When you look at the disproportionate impacts the bar exam has on examinees of color. My apologies. Couldn't pass the bar because I can't read. So this says is talking about the disproportionate impacts. Now, that's a euphemism. That's double talk for they're not getting enough people of color to pass the bar. Am I
No, that's
misinterpreting what I just read?
no, I think that's what it is. But
Yeah.
the question is, are they going to the same schools as people who are passing the bars, or what's going on here?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. But of course, you would think that when you look across the board, whether someone's white, black, male, female, whatever it is, that it all comes out in the wash. Some people are getting educated with their law degree online, I would imagine. Some
Mhm.
people are going to the top universities in the country.
Right.
Some people are going to a state university. But according to this article, I'm just saying here what I'm reading here. The concern is that out of that entire grid of people, enough people of color are not passing the bar. So you would think that I would assume that people of color have the same ability to go to various colleges, universities, higher institutes of education, so they say, as anybody else. I think there might be some other underlying reasons that they say that people of color, I'm using their terminology, are not being as successful with the bar as other people might be. But the question is this a case of the tail swinging the dog? Because what this is, it's a race to the bottom. Well, you know what? A certain sector is not doing as well as we'd like to in this examination process. So we're going to eliminate it for everybody. To me,
Yeah.
that's insanity.
So here's what I don't understand about this, Mark. If so the bar will now be optional, is my understanding in this? Like you don't have to take the bar, but you could take the bar. So
Well,
go ahead.
correct. No, you're right.
Okay.
You're right.
Yeah. So here's what they're almost saying. Like, if they're saying they don't have enough people of color qualifying to be lawyers in the state, if I need to look for a lawyer, would I not look for someone that's I want someone who passed the bar. If it's gonna be optional, I'm gonna choose someone who passed the bar. And you brought up something earlier in passing, which I was gonna bring up. Is this gonna apply to medical boards? Are we gonna not have
Why not?
right?
Why not?
Like,
Wh- yes.
why are there requirements to be licensed? These are licensing, legal licensing requirements that are being removed based on what?
You know what? It's based on ideology.
Mhm,
It's based on equity, as far as
mhm.
I'm concerned. It's
Equity,
based
yep.
on outcome philosophy.
Outcomes.
We want everybody to end up in the same place at the same time, no matter what their qualifications, their effort, their discipline, their God-given ability, no matter what all those other factors may dictate. We want everybody to end up at the same place at the same time. You raise a good point about if you're a client, if you need a civil lawyer, if you need a criminal defense lawyer, a tax lawyer, whatever it is, and you have different levels of accreditation, whatever that might be, who would you go to? You go to the
Right.
person. It's the old story, like you said a minute ago. It's going to happen with medical boards. Do you want the cardiologist, the heart surgeon,
Mhm.
who got A plus all the way from elementary school to medical school, or the one who got the C minus all the way through,
Right.
so to speak? If you had a choice, if you knew, well, the answer is obvious, and I think that's what we're seeing right here. But I do think that this is going to come back to bite at least Washington State, and by the way, the people of Washington State in ways they have not considered, because you might see now what some may consider discrimination by these people who didn't pass the bar or take the bar and pass it, not getting as much business or attention as
Y
they would
y
like to.
Mark, this reminds me, and I don't it's very important that I don't get this wrong, and I'm gonna encourage people, if I do get this wrong, please know it's not on purpose and correct me. Put something in the comments and correct me. But I remember a story, and maybe you've heard this of Clarence Thomas. Graduated from Yale Law School, if not the finest law school in the United States, one of 2 or 3 of the best law schools in the United States. I feel like he had trouble getting a job right out of law school, and or at least he at one point speculated that things like this almost have a negative effect because people feel like you are the benefit of what am I trying to say, Mark? You're the
Well, the
benefit.
affirmative action,
I
in other
mean,
words,
you're there, right.
you didn't get there on your own merit.
So that was exactly what I believe. That's exactly what he said. He said, he thought that people felt that he was someone who was the benefit of affirmative action and maybe wasn't as skilled, as qualified as other people in his class. And the reality was, he's obviously one of the I think a great legal scholar. That's not the case, but that's what we have to be careful of when things like this are put in place. Does it then actually exacerbate a problem and cause more problems because people look at it in that way? Is that that's almost what you're saying when you're saying that this will have an effect where people will now specifically not look for people who haven't taken the bar or who haven't passed the bar, and it makes the situation worse.
That's exactly right. Well,
Yeah.
you've summed it very, very well, and we'll see how this progresses. And as you said, ladies and gentlemen, on this particular topic, there are two more to come. But send your comments and thoughts in on that. I want to hear what the listening audience has to say.